Hello and welcome back. This is week 3 of the Quick Map Jumpstart Your Healthy Eating Habits in 6 Weeks course. You're at week 3, halfway through. High five. All right, let's shake it out and dance it out. Get those cobwebs out. Get your heart pumping. Get ready for today's session. You ready? You ready? Great. So tell me, what is going awesome in your life? Write that down in your Quick Map journal, post it in the Facebook group, share your awesomeness. Let us know what went well. What were your big wins? I can't wait to read all about them. And how did you do with your action items? Excuse me. Congratulations if you completed all of your action items. Tell me, how is that different than what you've done in the past? Did you really show up for yourself? You set a goal and you attained that goal. How is that different? And how does that feel? You know, this is where it starts. And now is the time to really crystallize that feeling, to notice what choices you made over the last week that gave you that great feeling, and knowing that that is always an option on your menu. Now you know you can set a goal and you can attain that goal. And you're choosing to show up for yourself. And don't forget to continue to think, is this in alignment with how I want to feel right now? And not only related to food, but any behavior. Is this in alignment with how I want to feel right now? That can be your guiding light. I am so happy to hear that you continue to log your high and your low energy foods, and you completed your 4-day energy experiment. This is how we start creating your diet tailored exactly for you. You have a lot of information about yourself. You know which foods give you energy, and you know which foods zap your energy. And now you know which proteins your body responds positively to. And what is it for you? Did you notice a difference between the animal and the plant proteins? Some people don't. Both animal and plant proteins work equally well for them. Others notice a marked difference. I know I do. My body is much more energized with plant proteins than it is with animal proteins. So what is it with you? Please share that in the Facebook group. I really am curious to learn how everybody is kind of landing on this experiment. And you went grocery shopping, you shopped for your high energy foods, and you're doing your snack and your meal prep. That is great and so important. It sets you up for success for the week. Otherwise, we can find ourselves without healthy choices readily available, and that's when we can start going toward the more unhealthy foods. So congratulations. And if you weren't able to follow through on all of your action items, that's okay. I am so proud of you for being honest with yourself. You know, it's really easy to fib or to just give ourselves a break. This course is all about showing up for yourself and living powerfully. And by being honest, it gives us a chance to course correct. And please remember, no judgment. There is no judgment here. It's a judgment-free zone. So if you don't mind, could we take a couple minutes to explore what needs to happen differently? You know, sometimes learning new habits means letting go of something that's been a comfort or a coping mechanism in the past. So in our very first session, we talked about your big motivating factor and why it's important to make these changes now. Refer back to your big MOFA. See again, why is this important? And do you need to revise that? Is there some other burning desire that you need to make these changes right now in your life? Go back, read that, become so acquainted with that, and let that fire get stoked all over again. And what feeling came with not completing your action items? Was there an emotion? Was that emotion or was that feeling, did it have a voice? And what was it telling you? Listen, what was that voice telling you? And if you judged yourself, know that judgment is just disappointment. Disappointment is, I didn't do what I intended and made something else responsible for my experience. That has a bit of judgment to it, a bit of blame. It's a twinge of resentment, right? Don't forget, no blame. We're not doing the blame game. An unmet need or desire with blame isn't doing anybody any good. And so now we need to bring it back to our curiosity, our own aliveness, our sparkliness. Get that all restored. Stop the blame and start living powerfully with intention. And if you were able to have a do-over, what might you do differently this coming week? Not with expectations of what others might have done differently, but for you, yourself. What would you like to be able to do that you did not feel like you were able to do this past week? And what needs to be in place to set yourself up for inevitable success? Write that down. What needs to be in place so I will have inevitable success with my action items and meeting my goals? And then what, if anything, might stop you or prevent you from following through? Write those down, think about that, and see, are those really valid? And what can you do to set yourself up so they're not valid, or that you can counteract them before the week starts? So if something's going to get in your way, see what you can do to work around those, to get around those obstacles, to make sure you're set up for inevitable success. Now, in our first session, we bumped you up to the top of your priority list. So this week, I want you to turn up the volume on that. And what that means is follow through is a sacred appointment that you cannot cancel. You're going to be tested with rationally important deadlines or somebody really needing you. But we're building healthy habits. And this is a bit different. So you're going to have to do things differently than you've done in the past. And you're going to learn from that. So this week, you are at the top of your priority list. Are you willing to commit to that? Good. Now, given that, what, if anything, might you have to let go of in order to manifest this result? Is there self-doubt, lack of confidence? What do you need to let go of? Think about that. Let it go. This is the new you. This is you showing up for yourself. So are you ready for something new this week? I'm ready for something new. This is truly one of my favorite courses, or one of my favorite sessions in the course. So today we're going to talk about what I call honoring your hunger and your fullness. We're going to talk about what that means and why it's important to practice it in between our sessions. And last week we talked about what to eat for your unique body, which foods give you energy, which foods take energy away. And you can continue with that experiment if you like. So you can get all kinds of foods down so you know exactly what fuels your body. And then you can start eating different kinds of protein to see, which ones work with me the best. And you want to continue to notice how you feel right after you eat and 2 hours later, because sometimes you may feel a little energy right after you ate, but 2 hours later, you're like a slug on the couch. It's important to pay attention to that. That means that food may not provide you the energy that you're really looking for. You're really building your intuition and you're building your diet, what's perfect for you and what fuels your body. Nobody else's, your body. So we're really focusing on eating everything that's energizing your body, steering toward those. And those become what you just generally gravitate toward. There's always going to be room for the low energy foods, for the chocolate cakes or the birthday cakes or whatever. in your diet. You don't have to get rid of anything. But those are the celebration foods. Those are the exception foods. As a rule, we want to go to your high energy foods. But to get big results, then what you eat is only part of the big picture. We also need to look how you eat. In other words, who are you being when you eat? Do you eat when you're not actually hungry because it's noon and you are mentally programmed that it's noon and you're supposed to eat? Do you eat too little or too much for your body's energy needs? Some of this is habitual. We tend to be compelled to do these things. And this is everybody. I don't know anybody who doesn't face this. But by the end of today's session, my intention for you is to have a deeper understanding of this. So we'll place this where I start calling honoring your hunger. Honoring your hunger. Are you ready? Now, how do we honor our hunger? Honoring our hunger is about recognizing what happens internally before we get hungry. Instead of waiting till you're hungry, so hungry that you want to eat a horse, you need to tune into your internal signals that your body needs nourishment. It's like your gas tank on your car. You know, there's that little buffer zone from when the light goes on saying you need gas. And before you actually run out of gas, you have like that 20, 30-mile buffer zone. Your body's the same way. Now, we don't want to wait till we run out of gas to eat because that's when the crazy unleashes. Notice what happens when you're super hungry. Do your eyes glaze over and you just kind of slump in your chair because you're not able to do anything? Do you become completely unreasonable? And who do you take that out on? Do you end up eating things that you normally wouldn't choose to eat just because it's within reach and you're completely desperate? You see, if you let yourself get too hungry, it's almost impossible to think clearly or make good decisions for ourselves and our bodies because the criteria has changed. We're no longer thinking about what's in alignment with our best self or what's in alignment with our big mofa. We don't care. We are just in desperate survival mode and we're not thinking clearly. The need to feel physically full becomes so irresistible, you'll eat almost anything. 5 pieces of toast with toothpaste. You know, stale breadsticks dipped in cold tomato sauce. We'll eat anything just because it's there and it's within reach. Have you ever felt like that? Have you ever eaten things that you normally wouldn't choose to eat, but you do it just because it's there and you're desperate? You have to have something in your mouth and in your belly. You're just too empty. And even after you ate all that, you may still feel unsatisfied because it wasn't a real meal. Your body's appetite mechanism is still searching for that meal experience, and it's not going to shut down until you feel like what's been a normal meal. We're just not satiated, right? So the first step is to recognize the hunger before it gets to that point. So I'm curious for you, if you can imagine yourself just starting to get hungry, like those first little ripples of hunger, what lets you know that you're soon going to start getting hungry? What are the signs for you? If you're having trouble figuring that out, teach me. If I had to replace you for a day and I had to feed myself, how would you teach me to get hungry at the right time? How would you teach me the cues to my hunger? Here's another thing to consider. Notice your emotion when you're starting to get hungry. Are you really hungry, or is there another emotion assigned to that? Are you bored? Are you angry, frustrated, stressed, depressed? What lets you know you're hungry? Because what we're trying to get to is that underlying trigger or cue for hunger. And the other thing to consider is how much food do you currently need? Is it just a snack or do you need a hearty meal? Because we don't want to fool ourselves into eating a real big meal when it's just a snack that we're needing, because that way you could be overeating. Now we're going to create your own hunger scale. And let me share my screen real quick. All right, how do we honor our hunger? What we're going to do is, here's a little scale over here. So here's our hunger scale. And we want to start planning for food when you're down here at a 2. So your 2 is, the 1 is you're just starting to notice when you're hungry. Those little feelings are starting, whatever those are for you. And so when you're at about a 2, when it's ticked up a little, this is when you start planning for food. And we want to eat when we're no later than a 5. 10 is when you are starving. You could eat a horse. You could eat anything in the world. This is your starving. You never want to get to a 10. If you get over a 5, that can start leading to binges or overeating. It's going to take a little while to determine what your 1 is, what your 2 is, and what your 5 is. So this week is about practicing that. Okay? So here's when you're noticing at your 1. 2 is when you start planning. You want to eat by 5. Okay? Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is honoring our fullness. Now I should have just stayed with my screen share, huh? Just 1 second. Now, honoring your fullness. When you honor your fullness, here's our fullness scale over here. 1 on your fullness scale, it's 1 to 10. 1 on your fullness scale is 1. I am starving. 10 is I am stuffed. I need to unbutton my pants, stuffed. Never want to get to a 10. We really never want to eat over a 7, and that's about 75% full. And again, it's going to take a little while to understand the difference between a 7 and an 8, a 6 and a 7. But one way you can really tell when you've gone over the 7 is if you are full. You're 75%, you're not stuffed, you're feeling good. If you ate 1 or 2 more bites, if that would tip you over into feeling like a little uncomfortable that you ate too much, that's the tipping point. Because what you don't want to do is eat over your 7, you're full, you're satiated, that's where you are. If that next bite is because it just tastes good and you want more, that's when you want to stop at your 7. You don't need to be eating. You've already fulfilled your hunger. You don't need to eat anymore, because that's just getting into it tastes so good and I just want more. Does that make sense? Okay. And I'm going to go over these in a minute. Just know that you're going to have this handout and you will have all of these in front of you. So you'll always have this to refer back to. Okay. Again, you're at your 7. One more bite is for pleasure. You're eating pizza. You're at your 75%, you're at your 7, you're feeling good, you're not stuffed, you're not overly full, but there's that one piece of pizza sitting there. And it's like, wow, that was really good. If that next bite is just that pleasurable bite, and that could just like, oof, you feel awful after that, that's eating for pleasure. That's no longer eating for your hunger. That's the difference. So play with that this week. You're really going to notice we're tuning into your body. You're listening for the whispers. You'll hear me say that a lot. Listen for your whispers. Your body is telling you everything you need to know. I am fine right now. I'm not stuffed. I could go out for a walk and not feel awful. That just a couple more bites could tip you over to that 7.5. So we want to stay at your 7. You don't want to indulge. You want to be where your energy level is the highest. Because going past that energy level dulls you. And there are 6 ways that you can practice honoring your intuitive hunger and fullness scale. And these are written in your handout. Start planning what and when you want to eat on level 2 on the hunger and fullness scale. Eat high energy foods that your body wants. And eat for energy. Aim for that level 7 versus a level 10 when you're too full and you have to unbutton your pants or even unzip them. Make a physical gesture that your meal is complete by pushing your plate away, putting a napkin over it, or just crossing your silverware over the plate. Declare out loud to yourself or anybody that you're eating with that you're full. Like, oh, I'm full. I don't need to eat another bite. That will dissuade you from continuing to eat because you've announced that the meal was complete for you. You've let it be known. And if you're eating out, ask the server to box up the rest of your meal so it's not calling you, eat me, eat me. Or another thing you can do is ask the kitchen to cut the plate, put half of the food in a to-go box and bring you the other half of the food on your plate. Then you never see the whole meal. You already have half put away for tomorrow's lunch or for tomorrow's dinner. Oh, does that make sense? I can't wait to hear how all of this goes for you. Now, did you bring the food that you can chew? Because we're going to do a little exercise here. And if you don't have some kind of food, like an apple, a nuts, anything you have to chew, a healthy food that you have to chew, please pause the video and go ahead and get that food now and bring it back. Okay, welcome back. So, guess how many times the average person chews one bite of food? Write that number down. What's your guess? Put it in the Facebook group. What's your guess? It's actually 3. 3 chews, then swallow, which means your body has to work really hard to break down that food. We might as well just have a door in our stomach and just put the food in right there because you're not chewing it. See, when you're chewing, the saliva has important enzymes to help break down that food. And that makes it easier to digest and assimilate, which means more of it gets used by the body versus being stored as fat because it doesn't get properly broken down in the mouth. It's important that we chew our food as much as humanly possible. And that's why we have these strong jaws and teeth and tongue to help move our food. Our salivary glands get stimulated, produce saliva that actually carries those nutrients directly to where they're needed in the body versus taking 3 bites and swallowing it. When we do that, when we just chew our food almost, or swallow our food almost unchewed, the stomach has to work incredibly hard to break down that food. And it has to increase the production of the stomach acids. So if your body needs like extra vitamin A, it's going to take a little while longer for that vitamin A to get where your body needs, right? So chew your food, help your body digest your food properly. What I'd like you to do now is take your food, whatever it is, and go ahead and chew it like you normally would, and count the number of bites before you swallow. Okay, how many? Write that down. How many chews? Now I want you to take another bite and chew it until there's literally nothing left. And then count how many times you chewed that. How many? How did that feel? A little weird at first, didn't it? When I did this the first time, I chewed my food 3 times. Yes, 3 times. And when I did the second exercise, chewing it till it was gone, I chewed 22 times. Big difference. Big difference. So imagine, I was literally eating my food whole. So I'm curious to hear, put it in the Facebook group. Don't be, I'm telling everybody how many times I chewed the first time. So go ahead, put it in the Facebook group, share with everybody. Everybody will get a big chuckle. And here's another thing we're going to focus on this week. This will change your life. And I'd really like you to focus on this week. It is easy, but not simple. Sorry, other way around. It's simple, but not easy. This is called the 20-minute meal. And I'm going to share my screen again. Okay. It takes 20 minutes for your stomach to signal to your brain that it's full. So imagine if you're only chewing each bite 3 times and you have your plate, that's only a few bites and you're done and your meal is over and your brain's like, wait, I'm still hungry. I'm still hungry, stomach, because your stomach hadn't had time to tell your brain. So that's how you overeat. You don't realize that you are full until much later. And then you're at your 10 on that fullness scale. You've overeaten. So this week, what I would like you to do is this little experiment. And the chewing works perfectly with this because you're chewing longer, so it's easier to do this. So you're going to need to have a clock with you when you start this exercise. And the first step is to check your clock before you start your meal, write down your time, and eat your meal at the pace you normally would. And then check the clock at the end of your meal. Write down how many times it took you to eat your meal. At your next meal, increase your meal time by 5 minutes more than your last time. And document your meal time. And then you're going to keep repeating those steps until you reach 20 minutes. What you want to do is I teach all of these, the honoring your hunger, your fullness, your chewing, and your 20-minute meal at the same session for a reason. Because when you're slowing down, and this is the game changer, when you're slowing down the time it takes to eat, and when you're noticing how you feel when you eat, when you reach your 7 on your fullness scale, it may not even take 20 minutes. It doesn't take me 20 minutes to get to my 7. And when I very first started doing this, and to this day, I eat half of what I used to eat. I'm not kidding. I eat half of what I used to eat because I'm listening to my whispers. My body's saying, Carol, you're full. You're at your 7. You don't need to eat anymore because you're going to feel miserable if you do. I declare I'm done. And I eat half of what I used to eat. When you chew your meal, that helps. And the other thing I'd like you to do, when you're employing your 20-minute meal, it's important to not be distracted, because have a great meal experience. Put away all electronics, no phone at the table, don't read anything at the table, turn off your TV, turn off the radio, and just enjoy your meal. When was the last time you really tasted your food? Savor those tastes. And if you're a person like me that puts more than one kind of food on your fork at the same time, some people eat them all separately. I mix up stuff. Taste the different foods as you chew and feel the textures of your food as you eat. Experience your meal. Enjoy your food. You will find this a completely mind-blowing experience if you haven't done that in the past. You will enjoy it. And employ your family to do this. Do the chewing exercise with them. Make it like a family game at dinner or at any meal you eat together. Do it all together. Take time. When you're eating, put your fork down in between bites and just chew. Pick up your fork and take your another bite. But enjoy it. So there is a journal on the handout, so you can document your 20-minute meals. It's a fillable PDF, so you can do it right on your computer or you can print it, but don't have your computer at your at the dinner table. So day 1, your meal, how you felt at 5 minutes, your mood, and your aha moment. Okay? So you can do all 3 meals in the box and just document those all week and see how you do. I can't wait to hear how it all goes. I know for me, and I know I keep saying this, but this was absolutely a game changer for me. This will help you lose some weight because you're going to be eating half of what you used to eat. And you're going to feel so much better. And you're going to find that you really look forward to your meals because it's going to be like a little celebration every time you eat because it's going to be completely different for you. This is going to be a whole new experience. All right. I'm so excited for you. Again, have a contest with your family. See how many times everybody chews. Put that in the Facebook group. My husband only chewed, I think, like twice. No kidding. Just shoveled it right in. So in your week 3 action items, you have that down. I want you to complete the following sentence. It's written, there's a little prompt in there, so just write in the blanks. Set up the conditions for success in my life so that follow through happens. set up conditions for success in my life so follow through happens. Make that your mantra. To be successful, you need to set up those conditions. That's up to you. It's time to show up for yourself. It's time to take control. The reason I have this fill in the blank is because it actually helps to seal it in your mind when you write it down. When you make that, rather than just reading, when you do something physical. You're going to review and practice honoring your hunger and your fullness. And notice what your scales are, what your clues are. Start, and I really suggest you write those down because it's easy to forget, especially as we're learning. When you get used to this, you're going to know. But when you're learning, it's important to write those down. Write down those cues. Chew your food. Make it a little family game. And then incorporate your 20-minute meal. Now, you're going to need to make time for your 20-minute meal. Breakfasts can be hard. You're starting with 5 minutes, if that's what it is, and then move your way up. So it's a slow start. You will get time to do it, but you'll find when you have a more pleasurable meal that you will make that time for those meals. This was a great session. I hope you get so much out of it. I would love to know, do you have any insights or aha moments from this session? Please write those down in your Quick Map journal. Keep tabs of those. And I would love to hear them in the Facebook group. I love to hear what everybody's getting out of the session. So your insights, your aha moments, let us know. I can't wait until next week. We're going to talk about how to manage stressful situations. I think you're going to find that a relaxing week. Okay, everybody, thank you for listening in on week 3. You're halfway through. I will see you next week with week 4. All right? Goodbye, everybody.